thoughts on this afternoon, Graham?
Well, I'd take me out after the youth team. This is basically what we ended up playing with. 5 of them were on there from Stafford's youth team, and fair play to them, all right. They like come on and made a mistake for the goal, really, but overall they can go away and hold their heads up high. You know, you shouldn't have to play youth team players or that many at this level of football, but the situation is what it is, and you know, with the injuries we picked up last week and Ollie Davis still not being right and Bully not right, having to play Jimmy at full back, it's a mishmash of a side. But you know, fair play to them. They've gone out and they've kept their heads held high, and I think they've kept the name of Stafford proud in the performance they've put in, because obviously you can look at the result elsewhere, and you know, that's what it's about at this moment in time, making sure you retain your pride.
And I said even that with Alex Hannon at the end, I mean, squaring the ball for Dan Cope, and again I think
football's about decision making, and young lads are going to make, you know, wrong decisions and half the time and right decisions half the time, but then there's a lot of supposedly more experienced players are doing the same thing, you know.
At least he got in the position, Graham.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the positive side.
You get youthful exuberance, don't you? So, you know, I'd take me out after them kids that went out there today. You know, we have, and you know, some of that's out there playing today. The fitness levels are not good. So there's a host of situations that don't make ideal reading for a football match, you know. But we got them out there, and they can hold their heads high. You know, they got beat 1-0, but there's no disgrace, you know, with the side that we had out there. And
to be honest, I mean, to concede a goal relatively late on, I mean, it looked for anything like a 0-0 draw all the way through.
It did. Like I say, but the young lads got on and made a mistake in our penalty area, and we've been punished. So that's happened. They'll be wiser lads for it. There's a lot of players out there that's got a lot of work to be done on them, you know, to make them into better players, and I'm sure they can become better players. But it doesn't make it any more comfortable for me at this moment in time, having to put a side out like we've had to put out today for varying reasons. You know, we just got to keep the name and the pride of the club, you know, afloat. Really, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get sides out there to the end of the season, and then the rest of it can take its course.
And you've already touched on it, that you see results elsewhere when Droylsden lose 13-1. It just shows what could happen.
Absolutely, and that's all I've stressed to the players. They've got a pride in their performance for themselves. They've got a pride in the performance for, I'm assuming the people here today are the diehards of Stafford Rangers fans, so you know, they have to have pride for them to make sure. I said, if you come off, I can live with the result. That's not an issue. As long as you can come off and hold your heads high, and the fans will walk away and say, okay, well, you know, they give it a go. They give it the best shot. You know, we can't ask for any more than that. And obviously, I mean, don't forget, they're not. Them 5 youth team players are going on with the likes of Joe Ballinger, who's 19, Saul Henderson, who's 19, Matty Berkeley's early 20. I think Jimmy and Ian Craney, they're the two old buggers in the side, shall we say? And Jimmy's only 29, so it's a difficult situation, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of doom and gloom, and you've got to lift that somehow, and they've got to move this football club forward, or the club's got to move itself forward, and that's going to take a lot of hard work and revitalising of situations off the field, never mind on it. And that's what's got to happen if this club is to go forward.
And you've been saying that for a few weeks, in terms of it is about getting a side out that's, you know, not going to embarrass Stafford Rangers. And it's going to be much the same over the next 4 weeks.
Absolutely, it's hard work. It's hard work. Mentally, it's hard work, and it's not enjoyable. But that's the situation we've got ourselves, and it's a situation we have to address. And like I say, I don't think people have gone home. Well, be disappointed we've lost. Obviously, I'm disappointed myself we've lost. But you can't be disappointed in the young lads, because they're at a very, very infant stage of their footballing career, and that will only enhance them to play for Stafford Rangers first team. Hopefully it boosts their confidence a little bit. They'll understand now the different levels of football, playing youth team football, then coming into this level, or going beyond it to the Conference North and beyond it again to the Conference Premier. They're all different levels, and it's a case of what you can and what you can't handle, and they'll be wiser lads for having had you know, experience out there today.
And we're likely to see more of these young lads.
I don't think we have any options, you know, with what we've got and the financial situation.
Levi picked up a nasty injury last week as well.
Levi's done his hamstring, so unless it's only a very slight one, that's usually 4 to 6 weeks before that gets right. Yeah. Bully, to be fair, wanted to play today, and I had to make sure the physio checked him out, and quite simply, once he had a little run on it, his knee, he wasn't fit to play, but the lad come ready to play. Because he told me in the week he felt fine, but there's a difference in feeling fine, not actually doing anything, and then again running out and kicking a football. And I wasn't prepared to risk him in any way, shape or form. It's not going to alter the outcome of where we are. So there's no point in the lad, you risking himself further injury. So it was pointless to try to start him, and that's why I didn't start him or even put him on. So it's not a nice situation I've got in the dressing room in terms of having to get a side out there, motivate them. Have we got the ability to do it, organise them? It's a difficult one, but it's been a difficult season for everybody at Stafford.
It has. Only 4 games left, and I think there's an awful lot of us looking forward to the end of the season for all sorts of reasons.
Well, it's not about the end of the season. The way I see it, and when I'm speaking to one or two people, it's about the future of the football club. That's longer than four games of football.
And there's a lot of concerns about the future of the football club.
Well,
there's a lot of questions to be asked.
I'm sure there is, but all I'll say about that, I've seen situations. I would suggest probably far worse than this situation here. I mean, I don't know the full situation financial-wise, but things can be pulled round. I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've done it with a club. But it's a long haul, and it needs everybody to get on board. And whatever your position within the club is, it really needs nobody pointing fingers and blaming people for this and that's not going to rectify anything. It's about a reorganisation, a restructure, find out what league Stafford are in next season. And you've got to cover the football club in experience and ability to function as a football club. Forget the football team,
yep.
As a football club. Yep. And there are a lot of things that have to go on in a football club that adds to the team going out there and doing their job. And all that's got to be addressed. All that's got to be, I think I said to you last time we spoke, there's a word called professionalism, and that's what's got to be introduced in abundance in this football club. To give those players who go out there, whether the youth team players, experienced players like the beginning of the season who had a decent wage bill, I believe, at the beginning of the season, they still need the backup around the situation of kicking a football. Football's simple. You eliminate all the excuses when they cross that white line, just play football, and then it's about how good your players are. Yeah. But the big thing that I fear for this football club at this moment in time is the damage that does happen to the name of the football club. And in attracting players to come to your football club, you've got to make sure the name is appetising enough for a player to want to come to Stafford Rangers Football Club. And players talk. The biggest certainty going is players talk. So when you have problems with players' finances or whatever, they're going to talk.
Yeah.
And if I went to you next year and said, come to Stafford Rangers, and your pal said, hang on, you go to Stafford Rangers and this isn't quite right or that isn't quite right, you're going to think twice. But that's human nature. And those are the sort of things I'm on about. You've got to overcome that scenario in players' heads. There must be enough good players in around Stafford's area who are playing elsewhere within probably 20, 30 miles of Stafford, I'm sure. And for some reason, for Stafford from being where it was up there, I hold it in the highest esteem because obviously my connection with Altrincham, but when I played, Stafford were way up there with us in terms of being a top non-league club. To ever get back to that situation, you've got to be able to attract the players of that calibre. And you've got to have a club that people want to come and play football for, and that means not just playing the game. That means every aspect of the football club. When you walk through the doors, everything's got to be right, and it's going to take a lot of reorganisation and people gelling together. If people want to fight in factions, then what could be 2, 3, 4 year job might be a 5, 6, 7, 8 year job.
Important summer ahead.
Well, it's important few weeks. I don't know about summer. Yeah. It's important few weeks in terms of what this club is going to do to structure itself. The league it's in doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. You could be in the Premier League. If everything isn't right around it, you're still going to have problems. So the restructuring is a big thing of who's going to do what and who's going to get on board and how funds are going to be raised. And there's lots of things. We see many a club there, people walking around. At Hyde United, they put out a bucket collection for about 15 years, I think. Every time I went to Hyde, there was a bucket collection season after season after season.
We've seen many a bucket collection here
well,
as well.
I'm sure,
Brian.
and I've seen it where I've been. And what I'm saying is, we're probably at that scenario, I would suggest. And that's what it needs. It needs buckets rattling. It needs going out into the community. It needs to get some kids in this football ground. I said that from day one.
Yeah.
I came and I think there was 2 children on the terracing. Well, when you don't see children at a football ground, that tells its own story. Kids should be at football matches locally.
Yeah.
There's no question about that, and I'm not pointing a finger at anybody. I'm just saying that's just a normality, isn't it? Not to see children at a football match. You can't all afford to go and watch the Man United or the Wolves around this neck of the woods because it's so dear. So they should be going to football games, certainly at this level. And I don't see them, and they don't know anything untoward, did they? They're just naive.
They are few and far between.
So
They've been dwindling away for a few years now.
And they're not dwindling because they don't think the football's very good or this isn't very good. They're just children.
Yeah.
So
they're dwindling because they're not being brought along.
Absolutely. So there has to be aspects like that. Has to be readdressed. I'll tell you the one thing that can happen is when you get yourselves in the doldrums a little bit, you can gel the whole football club. It's surprising what can happen. You say you've been there before with the bucket collections, and sometimes it unifies the football club, the problems that the football club does have. And if it does that, then that's a good thing. But you have to be prepared when you get on board to be on board for the long haul. If someone thinks there's a quick fix to the problems here, I'm telling you now, there's no quick fix. There's two words that will rectify this football club. It's called hard work.
Yeah.
Full
Been
stop.
there, seen it,
Full stop.
and it's definitely what it needs.
It has showed though at other clubs in terms of ones the Telfords, the Nuneatons, Kings Lynn today.
Well, hang on, when you say the Telfords,
that's
you
a
know,
different
we're
way
talking
they've done
about people build up debts,
Yeah.
right? And I've seen this scenario. You can build up debts and bump your club
it. Yeah, well, that's
and
what
wipe your debts and go on to become AFC Stafford.
Yeah.
You can do that, or you can be honourable and you pay your debts off bit by bit whilst putting a team out that you can afford to put out
Yeah.
there. You know, lots of teams have gone under and are still there now as AFC this or blah, blah, blah. It's how you do it. If you just want to bump your club and say it's unfair to the local milkman, the local builder, the local whatever, people say to me, oh, you were lucky to survive that season and you were in the relegation spots. Whoa, no. I can have a good football team with £3 million in debt. Not a problem. Not a problem. But it's not right.
No.
It's not right. You've got to decide which way you're going. Yes, that's an easy way. You go bump and everyone. And I'm just addressing the question what you said. And a football club, and there are others. I'm not just pointing at AFC Telford. Go bump.
Well, I was thinking more about the opposition you played today because I've been in the same boat.
Well, if you go bump and go belly up and don't pay this fella and that fella and you regroup and you come back as something else, people seem to accept that in football these days. I'd much prefer, and I hope it's the way the Stafford
Rangers
people
have
go.
never been a club like that.
Exactly.
They've had opportunities to do that in the past.
That they will take the honourable route of whatever problems have to be addressed and addressed in the right manner.
The point, I understand what you're saying, but the point is it does show a club can go backwards, but as long as we've got the people around them. You know, the one thing I would say is
that's the problem.
There probably isn't enough people here where the Nuneatons, the Telfords, not just them, there are other clubs who have gone the right way, I suppose, who have fell 2-3 leagues for financial, have got people together, community or local businessmen, people, or just people who are ready to put blood and tears into the club.
Let me tell you, it only readdresses itself from the situation of you down to 250, 300, 350s watching you.
Yeah.
In your heyday, you're probably 2,500 people.
Yeah.
So there's 2,000 people been lost over whatever amount of years. 2006, 7 you were in the Conference Premier. Probably pulling, I would have thought 1,500. So I would have thought comfortably.
Was a regular.
Yeah. So they're there.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple question. Any football club has to ask itself when it gets itself into problems: is do we want a football club? That's not just addressing the board of directors or anybody else at the club. That's addressing the community of Stafford. Do we want a football club? It's very easy to build houses on here. I've seen it done at many football grounds.
That's right.
Many football grounds.
Fortunately, we all have.
Well, exactly. This is no rocket science new scenario for Stafford Rangers. This is a scenario that you see all over the place many times throughout non-league football, and indeed let's look at the Portsmouth scenario in the league. It's what do you want? Do you want a housing estate on here, or do you want a football club? If you want a football club, people have to go off the backsides and decide they want a football club, and they have to work hard at the football club surviving. It's as simple as that. There's no rocket science to it. You know, there's a sugar daddy. If you can find a sugar daddy who puts it in, like Abramovich, but the day he goes, what state of Chelsea going to be in? So the sugar daddy, in my opinion, is not the right answer.
Let's go back to Telford then.
Well, it's a short-term fix, isn't it?
Telford.
It's a short-term fix. So the answers are there because there's been so many examples of clubs having difficulties. The answers are there. It's just can you find the people to fill the answers that you've got to fill, basically. It's the supporters, it's a board of directors, it's the players, it's the staff, it's a community thing. And that's what's got to be addressed. And I've no doubt there are bags of meetings going on, there are bags of people talking.
Yeah, we're talking.
Well, exactly. Talking is one thing, action is the main thing.
As you've probably noticed already since you've been here. Well, you don't have to answer that.
No. I see the problems and I've seen them before. All I'm going to say to people who are perhaps watching this interview is they are surmountable problems, but it's a long haul and it It's hard work. But the alternative is to have no football club.
Which
What
for
do I-
anyone associated with Stafford Rangers isn't an option.
Exactly. So you've got to
That
get
does
your...
happen with big clubs. Bromsgrove Rovers was a massive club, and it doesn't exist.
So you get your
It exists in some kind of form as Bromsgrove's 40, but when you put it into, when you look at it, it's not even the same football club. They play at the
it's
same
not.
place, but it's not the same club. It's a different club
Listen,
altogether.
it's easy to run a football club badly.
Oh yeah,
That's easy, you know.
I saw Kim
Football
Radio
clubs
do
that
it.
progress are run well.
Yeah.
From top to bottom are run well.
Yeah.
Well, any business, never mind football, any business. It has to be run properly from top to bottom. And a big thing at this level of football is volunteers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Massively. You know, volunteers, wherever I've been in non-league football, or wherever I've been, and basically they run the football club on a match day scenario and throughout the week with the voluntary hours and work that they put in. And that's how football at this level survives. It's as simple as that.
There's no choice in the matter.
There is no choice, you're absolutely right.
Graham, thanks very much.